Hello everyone and welcome back to the Brightworks and a witchy afternoon of a game of Beyond All Reason, where today we're going to be taking a look at a game that was recently played that I found over on the replays channel, or over on the replays tab rather of the actual website. I'm sort of 50-50 between jumping between that and jumping between the actual Discord channel, which of course is linked down below. And look at this beautiful little commander right here. Hold on, let's enter the we don't have much time here because because this game kicked off pretty quickly. Why can't I? There we go. Camera issues. Okay, let's take a look at this commander real quick. This was a quick game that I found over there, so I wanted to take a look at it, but it does mean we need to get into things pretty quickly. But look at this beautiful little witchy costume. We've got the witch's hat and the broom. I believe Cortex commanders also have a costume. Yeah, they've got the headless horseman's pumpkin sitting on top of their head. Very beautiful. All right, back to default view. Anyways, today's spawning is the blue team leader. A commander, of course, that goes by the name of MVP. Gonna be showing us what he's got right here. Yo ho ho and a pirate's way of life right here on the front lines, trying to get some of those Armada T1 bots out and on the field. Spawning directly opposite the blue commander here, a commander that goes by the name of Jamakis. Jamakis indeed going to be playing on the front line here, also as Armada, going into a bunch of ticks early off on the game, getting this game ripping and roaring right off the bat. This map, by the way, is called Hela's Basin. Totally forgot the name of this one. Hela's Basin. Essentially Supreme Straits, but with extra steps. That's why I decided to cover it, you know, sort of somewhat along the lines of what we normally see, but also a little bit more spicy, right? Just a little bit more spicy. I think that's what we crave today. We, the royal we. Resbot overexposed right here. The ticks are going to find it. That's going to be an excellent snipe right now from the red commander. Not nearly as much metal out on the field right here for these commanders to eat up from the, well, from the front line compared to Supreme Straits. I think it's about 400 or 500 metal, it's all said and done. A little more than that, maybe. Yeah, closer to about 500 metal, I would say, between all the rocks and different things. But of course, nowhere near the like nearly 1,500 metal that you have access to as the commanders on the front line of Supreme Straits. You can essentially afford those very expensive T1 units, and maybe even, if you really timed it out properly, maybe even a T2 unit if you were really good about it. Nice aggression right here, though. Yeah, Ticks managing to snipe a constructor for SG MVP. We have a grunt moving around here as well. Nicely done by KD149. The red team looking unstoppable at the moment. Yeah, just sending units across the map and being aggressive with them. And just like that, Reed Sweet is now forced to send a frigate over in this direction. Not really going to be able to do much to save these mexes, though, because of course the grunt is fast enough to avoid most of the plasma fire here. And it's sure enough going to take down all of these metal extractors. What a frustrating time right here for Reed Sweet, who now has to try and deal with this grunt using a commander, eventually going to be able to blast it to pieces, but that is now 6, call it 7 metal per second down the drain for the Cyan commander, meaning of course that their economy is in shambles. Now, nicely done by the green commander, ravaging the mexes over here of 3 keep, bringing this a little bit closer to even. Centurion on the front line for Jamakis. It's a play that we've seen a lot more recently, actually. These early Centurion can get a lot of value, especially against these grunts, but they are difficult to field, and you have to be really careful about it. One of the strategies that we've seen early on is just 2 Centurion and a commander. Kind of gives you a wide enough base of coverage, right? You can move this around almost the same range of coverage as an LLT, just slightly less. But with 2 of them up and running, and then of course the commander for the repair, it can make for a very stalwart, early aggressive, not even really a defense, it's more like a mobile defense, which I guess is, I guess we would call that an offense. Yeah, KD149 without energy right here, actually unable to fire back at the Centurion. Means, of course, that the blue commander gets a beautiful trade right there with the Centurion up against that commander. Now, the powder blue Armada, the powder blue Naval Armada, in a little bit of trouble. It's a Cortex fleet right here, but they're going to be completely surrounded by a bunch of gunboats. Now, bear in mind, of course, the gunboat, not necessarily the sturdiest or highest damage or really anything, doesn't win the field for any of its uses, but it is, relatively speaking, fairly cheap in the early game. And just like that, we managed to snag a constructor right there, definitely making value out of these early gunboats before they inevitably get blasted. Well, you know what? Inevitably get blasted to smithereens. There we go. Frigate out of the lab will be enough to bring those boats down, and that is a nice defense right here by the powder blue commander against, oh gosh, against Zilean. We're just gonna go with Zilean right here. Ruining my monetization, shaking my damn head. Zek right here, pushing forward with some of those aggravators. Again, the aggravators, they're good, but against the Centurions, we've seen time and time again, as soon as you get enough of those Centurions up and running, they can keep pace with the aggravators fairly well, and it means that suddenly you're in a weird situation where the laser bots are actually outpacing your rocket bots while dishing out more damage per second. It's a really brutal equation, but it definitely adds up in the favor of whoever has more Centurion on the front. Well, looks like the one here for the Red Commander has gone down, or maybe it was eaten up. I'm not sure where it's gone, but at this point it is no longer on the fronts. Zek in a little bit of trouble here as the Rocketeers do collide their missiles with that commander, but of course, not the end of the world as that commander's getting a little bit of a back rub from its constructor buddy. Are we going to go for static defenses right now? I think it was the plan for the blue commander in the earlier stages of the game. It looks like we're sort of pivoting away from that at this point here. Nice connection from the Janus truck. Boom goes the twin missile launcher directly on top of the blue commander. Looks like a big naval engagement out here in the ocean as well. Gosh, I'm gonna have to like put a black bar over this name the entire game. I'm just kidding. I'm not doing that. That's a lot of effort and I cannot be bothered. You're just gonna have to pretend that that's not there as we watch this destroyer frigate fleet do a wonderful job of defending itself, actually. Yeah, with the commander support repairing all those boats up here, this is actually a wonderful fight for the yellow commander, and it of course means the powder blue commander is forced to retreat backwards a little ways. Wouldn't mind seeing a destroyer out right now, but rushing mass frigate actually isn't a non-viable solution because, of course, going for those frigates, they tend to have more damage when you can get a better surround on the enemy forces. With proper micro, you can make more frigates work against less destroyers. Jamaica is setting up a lighting turret here, or trying to at the very least. We've got Twin Guard coming up right now for Zek. Twin Guard singular as opposed to Twin Guard plural. Rocket bots firing every which way, and we've hit that snowballing number now where we're able to blast down singular rocket bots with just about one volley, at least the injured ones to the very least. Yeah, things looking quite nice right here for the Seafoam Green Commander. Despite superior numbers right now for the Red Commander Jamaica's, I would say that things are looking decent right now for Zek as well. Just need to keep these units trading out and make sure that the Resbots are repairing constantly. This is a massive spread right here for the Tan Commander, though, and you know what? I kind of love it. Yeah, these units have such a massive concave that they're really going to be able to take advantage of that effect. That flanking effect, firing from multiple different directions, but also spreading out the enemy army, right? So that's another unintended, or well, not unintended, but another side effect, I guess I would call it, of the concave. Especially a big one like this, is you're pulling, if you have superior numbers, you're pulling the enemy's already thin forces even thinner, and that can be really useful. Looks like a submarine has managed to find its way across the map over here. What the pink commander is pinging about over here. Yeah, Orca submarine, okay. I mean, I don't hate it whatsoever. Yeah, Orca submarine gonna start tearing apart the base over here. Lovely stuff for the green commander. Firing away those torpedoes, doing a lovely job of tearing down the tidal generators and making it very difficult for Humbleguard to enjoy his time right here in the Navy. Puts out the destroyer and will manage to hunt that submarine down eventually. With a little bit of repair micro, this is not going to be the end of the world. Certainly uncomfortable right now, though, for the brown commander to have to deal with that. Oh, and would you look at that. The orange commander has gone for a little bit of transport shenanigans. Indeed. Commander in a transport, fighter planes. Air player producing shuriken at the moment, not paying attention to the commander in the transport over here. Looks like this was scouted by the powder blue commander. Yeah, AMA 2017 detected this. Didn't have the air forces or the anti-air forces in position to deal with it really, though. It means that Hazard is going to land safe and sound over here on this side. Fighters are now pulled, and there we go. The medium transport is killed, which means, of course, this commander will no longer be, well, extractable, but it is still an issue, right? We still have a commander on our shoreline. This is going to be a definite problem. What once looked like a fabulous army right here for Zek has now been forced to go up 2 versus 1 against the Maroon as well as the Red Commanders, meaning, of course, that this has turned from a decent situation into a very, very bad one. HLT here doing the very best that it can in order to clean up as much of this as possible. Also blasting down the commander is always nice, of course, shredding off, wow, very quickly about 25% of the HP from that commander there is always lovely to see. But the thing about the HLT is it really doesn't do much damage. It doesn't do a lot of damage, it just has a lot of range. And that's very effective. It's very useful for zoning off different areas. But as you can see, as soon as you get enough units engaged on it, it really can't stand up to much duress. That being said, I think this one probably found its value. Definitely blowing apart a whole bunch of those Rocketeers is quite nice. Shuts down some of the snowballing here. But we are ready for another tier of game right now. Oh, a whole bunch of pawns move forward. Okay. Okay, this could be huge. The Tank Commander suddenly suffering immense losses as the pawns run forward from MVP. Finds an opportunity to slip a couple of units into the enemy backline, and boom go the wind turbines. Hey, this is a lovely start to a saving grace on the front lines here. Yeah, we need to come back. Don't call it a comeback. Oh no. Swimman trying to catch Hazard. Hazard just running for his life right here with the commander. Has enough energy production to sustain this commander running away as well, which of course means that it can remain cloaked and essentially out of trouble for now. What a nightmare. Make a unit to kill this comm. We've gone for a single hound. This is a bummer. That is 3,000 metal prone for the destruction right now as Hazard moves towards this base. The hound trying desperately here. It's down 10%. E-converters pop. Want to get the OP view. Boom goes the orange commander right in the middle of the base. Okay, well, it's a little bit of a comm bomb situation, but I guess it works. There we go. The blue commander, pardon me, the orange commander, managing to blow up the entire T2 lab right here of Swimman before those T2 cons really propagate through the team. That is a huge advantage right now for the red team. Suddenly, the blue team is in a really precarious situation. Zulayan pushing forward here as well, definitely with a nice, a nice dead army right in front of them. Very eager to reclaim that, I'm sure. We do have a construction boat moving forward. Maybe we'll set up some mobile build power, but more likely than not, we'll just go ahead and we'll get some good old-fashioned reclaim going on here. Amma 2017 in a little bit of trouble. The destroyer. Oh, we're going for a capture command. So when you go for a capture command, you can do that while cloaked, and it's usually better to do that because obviously if you're going to take over this unit, you don't want to damage it. But there we go. Yeah, destroyer being captured. Oh. Oh. Destroyer is captured as it fires the jump charge that kills the commander and the boat. What a hilarious event right there as the yellow commander manages in a wacky turn of events to still kill the blue commander while losing the destroyer. What a ridiculous way for that event to go down. I don't know if I've ever seen anything as wacky as that, but the blue side is winning the northern sea here quite nicely. Pink commander has already been wiped out of the match, and we do have the brown commander in a lot of trouble here as well. It's Humpelgar and 3-key working together on the high seas and trying to keep it together, but there's just so many boats moving forward right now. We have loads of gunboats moving in. This can work sometimes. It's a little bit of a Hail Mary, but if you can manage to pull it off, it can be very effective. Essentially, making 100 gunboats and sending them into your enemy's backline. Oftentimes, they will sneak through, and if enough of them break through, you can start blowing up the enemy production line. And then no more reinforcements means you can basically take those Navy fights as inefficiently as you want to. That's exactly what we're seeing here. The last stragglers of the pink the pink naval armada are being cleaned up right now. Zulayan pushing forward, though. Yeah, the blue commander has been wiped out of the Navy. It looks like we self-deed a lot of this in order to prevent it from falling into yellow hands right now, and it looks like Swimman trying to degun down the laboratory doesn't make it, though. Oh, no! The orange facility in the enemy soil. That's a bunch of pawns being pumped out of this laboratory right here. We're just going for a good old-fashioned pawn spawn. And they're causing havoc all over the place. What a nightmare to deal with. Such a high APM tax right now means that this backline obviously isn't really getting much value. They're not scaling the economy. They don't really have the late game eco that the red team is going to have. You can see Krishna just continuing to scale up the economy back here, and then the orange commander already with a fabulous economy from the early game. The early game T2 scaling, yeah. Finding it very, very comfortable to just continue scaling the backline while we pump out a whole bunch of T1 units. What a hilarious strategy right now. The build power is sufficient, so these pawns are coming out of the lab real quick. Wouldn't even mind a Centurion investment, but obviously that's a much more expensive proposition, so understandably wary to go for something like that. And we do have a tick spam running forward now. No lightning tanks in order to protect this composition of Mauser. We have everything except for an assault force in front of these Mausers. Really tragic because they could clean those up real quickly. There we go. Jaguar tanks finally hitting the front line, but way too late. Yeah, Mauser doing a load of friendly fire damage. The blue commander goes down on the front to a bunch of T1 trash. The Mauser finally firing forward on all these T1 bots. We have to be so careful with the Mauser. The problem with them is, of course, that they can't fire backwards. So as soon as you're retreating, they're effectively useless. Rattlesnake comes up in time. Okay, you know what? With the lightning tanks in play here as well, and the Mauser finally turning around to fire once more, I think this suddenly has become a wonderful engagement. There we go. Rattlesnake manages to clean up a lot of this, and those lightning tanks are going to be more than enough to deal with the ticks that are running forward here and threatening this composition. It doesn't stop your Mauser from friendly firing, though, so you do have to be quite careful about that. Juno still connects in the midsection of the map here and does shut off that tick spam. Nicely done right there, at the very least providing quite a lot of relief for those Mauser, making things a little bit easier. Welders are what you want to go for here against these pawns marching forward. 10 or so welders would be more than sufficient to overwhelm this production. Just pushing forward and overwhelming the laboratory. They have tons of HP. They do chain lightning damage as well, so they jump between these pawns when they're spammed out like this. They're the perfect solution right here. I don't think the hounds are really going to be ideal. The hounds are nice for you for the fact that you can recycle them. You can send them to the front line if you need to, but really this is not looking like a recyclable situation. There we go. Welders are coming out of the laboratory. It's just a little bit later than I'd like to see. Lavender Commander here, Rabe, going up at clocking in at 13 open skill and a silver tail of Chevron as well. Definitely a little bit newer to the game, or perhaps a little bit newer. I shouldn't say definitely. You never know with the ult accounts and all that sort of stuff, but eventually the welders are going to be enough here. Hounds can also switch to their Gauss mode, is another really efficient way of dealing with small light units like that. Oh, Zalan with the the AGOD gun manages to pop that advanced geothermal right in the middle of 3 different bases, sending each and every one of them into the East Hall from hell. Just like that, suddenly Hexu, the only commander to survive right here. The resign vote is called because with that play, the yellow commander has wiped out the entire seaboard energy production, and now the salamanders roll out of the lab. What a multi-prong attack and some beautiful efficiency. That was a hilarious match. Zek apparently taking a break, and I think they definitely need it as the yellow salamanders roll up the shoreline, ready to ravage this. Very creative set of players right here. Lovely stuff from the red team. Always love to see players getting creative with their resources, trying to figure out unique ways to take over a game of Beyond All Reason, and it certainly seems like this is exactly what we found. The blue team throws in the towel, and the red team, with some creative strategies and some out-of-the-box thinking, managed to pull out a victory in this game of Beyond All Reason. Wow. What a back and forth right there. What a beautiful game. I sure hope you enjoyed. Thanks a ton for watching. If you did enjoy, hit that like button down below. It really helps me out a ton. Helps propagate these videos throughout the etherwebs, which I'm always happy to see. And it sure helps spread the news that Beyond All Reason is, should be on the radar for anybody who's interested in RTS games. Other than that, I hope you have a lovely rest of your evening, and I will see you tomorrow in the very next video of Beyond All Reason. Peace out, everybody.